Captain Victoria Lane stood at the observation window of the HVAR Sentinel, watching the endless black of space stretch before her. The stars were cold and distant, like pinpricks in a fabric that had no end. She had been looking at views like this for 5 years now, ever since humanity had decided to push beyond their solar system and explore what was really out there. The Sentinel was the best ship humanity had ever built. Its hull was made of a special metal that could withstand impacts that would have destroyed earlier ships. Its engines could push it faster than any human ship before it. Its weapons were small by the standards of the advanced civilizations that ruled the galaxy, but they were powerful enough to handle most problems that came up. Victoria's crew numbered 243 people. Every single one of them had been chosen because they were the best at what they did. Her tactical officer, Henry Cole, had trained for 8 years to reach his position. Her chief engineer, Fox, could fix almost any problem with the ship's systems in minutes. Her medical officer, Dr. Washington, had saved more lives than most doctors save in a lifetime. The mission was supposed to be simple: scout the outer regions of space, map the territories, report back to Earth, nothing dangerous, nothing that would put the ship or the crew at real risk. Victoria had done this same job 5 times before without any major problems. Then the distress signal came through. The sound of the alarm made everyone on the bridge look up from their work. The signal was old technology, the kind that any species in the galaxy could pick up. It meant someone was in serious trouble. "Captain, we are getting a distress call from the region at coordinates 273 Mark 11, called out Lieutenant Sarah, who worked at the communications station. "The signal is coming from a merchant vessel. The ship identification shows it belongs to the Confederation." Victoria turned away from the window. "Can we identify what kind of trouble they are in?" Sarah worked at her console, her fingers moving quickly over the buttons. "The signal is breaking up, Captain, but I can hear weapons fire in the background. They are under attack. The distress call is repeating the same message. They need help." Henry Cole stood up from his tactical station. His face showed concern. "Captain, I have detected 3 large ships in that region. The energy signatures do not match any of the friendly species we know about." Victoria moved closer to the tactical display, where a 3-dimensional map of space showed the location of the ships. The Sentinel's position was marked with a blue dot. The merchant vessel was marked in yellow. The 3 large ships were marked in red. "Identify those ships," Victoria ordered. Henry worked at his console for a few seconds. When he looked up, his expression was serious. "They are ships, Captain. The Empire. Their weapons and armor are far more advanced than anything we have. If we go after them, we will be facing opponents that are much stronger than us." Victoria did not hesitate. She had made her decision the moment she heard the distress call. "Set a course for the merchant vessel, maximum speed." "Captain," Henry said, standing up from his chair, "they will see us as a threat. They will attack. Our ship is good, but it is not good enough to fight 3 warships. We could lose the Sentinel. We could lose this crew." Victoria looked at Henry. She saw the concern in his eyes. She understood his fear. These were real dangers, but she also understood something else. This was who humans were. This was what made them human. When people needed help, you helped them. You did not count the cost. You did not measure the odds. You simply acted. "I understand the risk, Lieutenant," Victoria said. "I am ordering you to set the course anyway. We are going to help those people. That is our mission. That is who we are." The crew moved quickly. Fox pushed the engines to their maximum power. The ship began to accelerate faster and faster through the void of space. The stars seemed to blur as the Sentinel raced toward the coordinates where the distress call was coming from. In the medical bay, Washington prepared his equipment. He did not know how many injuries they would find. He did not know if the crew would survive, but he prepared anyway. This was his job. This was what he had trained for. In the weapons room, the gun crews checked their ammunition and their targeting systems. Their weapons were not as powerful as the weapons, but they would do their best. That was all they could do. Victoria sat in her command chair and waited. The ship was moving as fast as it could move. They would reach the merchant vessel in a few hours. What would happen when they got there, she did not know. But she was not afraid. Fear was something that humans had learned to control long ago. The communication system suddenly came alive with a new signal. This one was not a distress call. This was a message from the ships. The voice that came through was cold and hard and filled with power. "Identify yourself," the commander said. "You are entering space. This region has been claimed by the Empire. You will state your designation or you will be destroyed. Victoria took a breath. She had never spoken to it before. She had only read about them in reports and files. They were known for being strong and powerful and ruthless. They did not show mercy. They did not show weakness, but they also did not know humanity very well. "This is Captain Victoria Lane of the human vessel HVAR Sentinel," she said into the communications system. Her voice was calm and clear. "We are responding to a distress call from a merchant vessel in this region. We are coming to help." There was a long pause. Then the voice came back, and this time it was filled with something that sounded like laughter. "A human vessel? We have heard stories of your species. You are a young race. You are primitive. Your technology is weak. You have no place in this region of space. You will turn away from here now, or we will destroy you." Victoria did not respond right away. She looked at her crew. She saw the determination in their faces. She saw the resolve. They were afraid, yes, but they were going anyway. That was what made them human. "We are not turning away," Victoria said. "We are coming forward. Stand down or prepare to face the consequences." She closed the communication channel. The Sentinel continued toward the merchant vessel. The distance between them and the ships was closing fast. Soon there would be a confrontation. Soon they would discover what this young human race was truly capable of. The blockade sat in space like a wall of steel and fire. 3 massive ships hung in position around the merchant vessel, which looked small and broken compared to them. The merchant ship's hull was scorched black from weapons fire. One of its engines was completely offline. Its weapons systems were silent. It was helpless, caught between the 3 warships that surrounded it. Victoria watched the scene unfold on her tactical display. The ships were each 3 times larger than the Sentinel. Their armor was thick and strong. Their weapons systems were numerous and powerful. By every measurement that mattered in space combat, they had an overwhelming advantage. But Victoria had learned something from her years of training and study. Advanced technology and raw power were not the only things that mattered in a fight. There were other factors: adaptation, speed, the ability to think quickly and adjust when things did not go according to plan. These were things that humans did well. The Sentinel came into visual range of the ships. Henry Cole immediately began tracking their positions and movements. The tactical display lit up with information about their shields, their weapons, their armor thickness, and their current power distribution. Victoria opened the communications channel. When she spoke, her voice was calm and steady. It showed no fear. It showed only authority and certainty. "This is Captain Victoria Lane of the human vessel HVAR Sentinel. You are attacking a civilian vessel. You will stand down immediately. Release the merchant ship, or you will face the consequences." There was a moment of silence. Then the commander's voice came back through the speakers. The voice was loud and filled with laughter. The commander was not taking the human ship seriously at all. "A human warship, this is unexpected. We know of your species only from distant reports. You are primitive, you are weak. Your weapons cannot pierce our shields. Your armor is paper compared to our steel. You have no chance in battle against us. I will offer you one chance to escape. Turn your ship around now and we will allow you to leave this region alive. Refuse and we will destroy you." Victoria did not respond with words. Instead, she turned to her tactical officer and gave him the order that would change everything. "Henry, charge all weapon systems to maximum power," she said simply. Henry hesitated for just a moment. "Captain, that will not be enough to break their shields. We will be completely outmatched." "I know," Victoria said. "Do it anyway." The weapons on the Sentinel came to life. Every gun, every missile launcher, every energy weapon the ship had was activated and brought to full power. On the tactical display, the representation of the Sentinel's weapon systems was suddenly bright and active. But Victoria did not attack the shields directly. That would have been useless. Instead, she gave her next order. "Helm, take us in a fast approach vector. Henry, I want you to target their weapon emplacements. Ignore the main shields. Focus on the guns and the energy projectors. Let their shields stay online but disable what is behind those shields." The Sentinel moved. Its engines pushed the ship forward in a path that was unexpected and quick. The ships reacted, but they moved slowly compared to the human vessel. Their weapons fired, but Victoria anticipated their attack patterns. She moved the ship at angles that the commanders did not expect. The first volley from the weapons missed the Sentinel by a significant distance. The human ship fired back. The shots were precise and aimed at targets that they had not thought to protect heavily because they assumed their shields would protect everything. But shields only work if they are strong at every point. The Sentinels' weapons found the gaps. The targeting was exact and deadly. One of the ships lost 3 of its main weapon systems instantly. The weapons exploded in controlled bursts that damaged the surrounding equipment but did not breach the hull. The commander's voice came back, and this time it was filled with anger instead of laughter. "You have made a terrible mistake, human. You have attacked the Empire. Now you will pay for that foolishness with your lives." The 3 ships began to move more aggressively. They tried to surround the Sentinel to trap it in a 3-sided attack. But Victoria was faster. She had studied how they moved. She had analyzed their tactics. She knew what they would do before they did it. The Sentinel slipped between 2 of the ships, moving through a gap that should not have existed. The weapons fired at empty space where the human ship had been just seconds before. Fox pushed the engines even harder. The Sentinel's power systems screamed under the strain, but they held. The ship moved like it was alive, like it had a mind of its own. It twisted and turned and accelerated in ways that the expectations of the commanders. Henry Cole continued to call out targets. Each shot from the Sentinel's weapons found a mark. Cooling systems that kept the weapons from overheating were damaged. Sensor arrays that helped the ships aim their weapons were disabled. One ship lost half of its offensive power within minutes. The commander called out a command, and the remaining 4 ships that had been in reserve somewhere in the region received the signal to come to the battle. They accelerated through space toward the conflict zone. The Empire was not used to being challenged. They were not used to opponents who could match their tactics and their speed. But the human ship was still moving, still attacking, still adapting to every new threat that emerged. Victoria watched the tactical display and saw the 4 new ships coming toward them. She could have ordered a retreat. She could have tried to escape, but she did not. She had come here to save the merchant vessel, and she was not going to leave until that job was done. "All weapons continue firing," Victoria ordered. "Helm, keep the evasive patterns. We are going to stay here until those people are safe." The merchant vessel had been silent throughout the battle, but now its communication system came to life. The voice that came through was strange, filled with overtones and frequencies that human ears were not designed to hear, but the translation system converted it to English. "Human ship, you are helping us. Why? We are not your allies, we are not your friends. You risk your ship and your crew for beings you have never met before." Victoria did not stop fighting. She did not slow down or hesitate, but she did answer the question. "Because they needed help," she said simply. "That is reason enough. That is always reason enough." 2 hours had passed since the first shot was fired. 2 hours of continuous combat that had pushed the Sentinel and its crew to the very edge of what they could endure. The battle had evolved from a 3-ship confrontation into a full-scale engagement against 7 warships. Each vessel was larger and more powerful than the human ship. By every logical calculation, the Sentinel should have been destroyed long ago. But the Sentinel was still fighting. In the engineering section of the ship, Fox stood in front of a wall of displays that showed the status of every system on the vessel. Her face was covered in sweat. Her eyes were locked on the screens in front of her. Around her, her engineering team worked without rest. They rerouted power systems, diverted energy where it was needed, and kept the ship's engines running at maximum capacity. "Captain, the port-side shield generators are beginning to fail," called out over the communications system. "If we take another direct hit on that section, the hull will be compromised." Victoria heard the report from her command chair. She processed the information instantly and adjusted her strategy. "Helm, rotate the ship. Bring the starboard side to face the port side threat. Route all available power from the forward sections to the port shields." The ship moved again. It was a maneuver that would have torn apart a lesser vessel, but the Sentinel held together. Its structure was sound. Its crew was excellent, and its captain understood what it took to survive in a situation like this. Henry Cole never stopped working. His eyes moved across the tactical display, tracking the positions of all 7 ships, predicting where they would move next, and calling out target information to the weapons crews. His hands moved across the tactical console with the speed and precision of a musician playing an instrument they had mastered completely. "Weapons, focus on the lead ship," Henry said into his communications headset. Target the cooling systems on the starboard side. The armor is lighter there due to the heat dissipation requirements. 3-shot pattern, mark, and fire. The Sentinel's weapon systems responded instantly. 3 shots fired from different points on the human ship's hull. All 3 found their target. The ship's cooling system exploded in a burst of flame and hot gas. The ship immediately began venting heat into space. Its weapon systems started to overheat from the lack of proper cooling. In the medical bay, Dr. Washington worked on his first patient of the battle. A crew member named Bradley had been in the weapons room when a secondary explosion had damaged the section. He had radiation burns across most of his body and a deep cut on his arm that was bleeding heavily. Did not hesitate. He moved quickly and efficiently, using all of his skills to stabilize the patient. He applied medical patches to the burns and sealed the wound. Within minutes, Bradley was stable and breathing normally, even though he was unconscious from the pain medication had administered. Next, said simply. Another crew member came in on a stretcher, then another, then another. The battle was causing damage throughout the ship. The human crew was fighting in a situation where even minor damage could become a major problem, but the human body was strong. The human will to survive was powerful, and Washington was one of the best medical officers in the entire human fleet. As the battle continued, something began to change. The ships were still firing, still moving, still trying to destroy the Sentinel, but they were doing it slower. They were becoming more cautious. They were beginning to understand that this human ship was not like any opponent they had ever faced. The Sentinel did not fight like other species. It did not rely on overwhelming force. It did not try to match the weapon for weapon. Instead, it fought like a human would fight in a physical battle. It moved when the opponent tried to trap it. It attacked where the opponent was weak. It predicted and adapted and changed its tactics constantly. Victoria understood something that most military commanders in the galaxy did not understand. War was not about who had the most power. War was about who could adapt the fastest. War was about who could think the quickest and react the sharpest. War was about using your advantages and exposing your opponent's weaknesses. Humans had learned these lessons over thousands of years of conflict. They had learned them through countless battles and wars and struggles. Every defeat had taught them something. Every victory had shown them something new. This knowledge was written into the way humans fought. Captain, I am reading that the lead ship has lost 70% of its weapon capacity, Henry reported. Their shields are still functional, but at reduced levels. We can break through if we concentrate our fire. Negative, Victoria said. We are not here to destroy them. We are here to stop them from destroying the ship. The moment they decide they cannot win, they will retreat. That is all we need. As if to prove Victoria's point, one of the ships broke from the formation and accelerated away from the battle. It was damaged enough that continuing to fight was no longer profitable. Then another ship retreated. Then another. Within 30 minutes, all 7 ships had disengaged from the battle. They were not destroyed. They were not completely disabled. But they were damaged enough and frustrated enough that continuing to fight against this human ship was no longer something they wanted to do. They accelerated away from the region at high speed, putting as much distance between themselves and the Sentinel as they could. Victoria watched the tactical display as the last ship disappeared from sensor range. For the first time in 2 hours, she allowed herself to take a long breath and release the stress that had been building inside her. Status report, she ordered. Henry checked his systems. All ships have retreated to a distance of 2 light years from our position. They are not stopping. They are heading for deeper space. I believe they are reporting this battle to their superiors. Casualties? Victoria asked, though she already knew the answer would be difficult to hear. 4 crew members dead, Henry reported quietly. 23 wounded. The ship has damage to multiple hull sections, but all critical systems are still functional. We are functional, Captain. We can still fly. Victoria turned to look at the merchant vessel on her display. It was still there, still alive, still safe. She had come to help and she had succeeded. That was what mattered. That was why she had accepted this risk. The Sentinel was damaged, but it would be repaired. 4 crew members had died, and that was a tragedy that the merchant vessel was in bad shape. Its main power systems had been damaged by the weapons. Its life support was running on backup systems. Its hull had multiple small breaches that were being sealed by emergency protocols, but those seals would not hold forever. The ship needed help, and it needed it quickly. Victoria made the decision instantly. She ordered half of her engineering team to board the ship and help with repairs. Fox personally led the team, suited up in a protective suit that would allow her to work in the damaged sections of the alien vessel. Behind her walked 12 of the best engineers in the human fleet, each one carrying equipment and tools that they would need to assess the damage and begin repairs. They themselves were strange-looking beings. They were made of a crystal-like material that seemed to glow faintly from within. They were tall, nearly 8 feet in height. Their bodies had a shimmering quality as if they were not entirely solid. Their eyes were multiple, arranged in a circle around their heads, giving them the ability to see in all directions at once. They could be frightening if you did not know them, but found them beautiful in their own way. The lead was named. He had been the commander of the merchant vessel before the attack. His body still glowed, but the glow was weak and flickering. He was damaged as well, though not as badly as some of his crew. When Fox entered the bridge of his ship, turned all of his eyes toward her. "You are the humans," said. His voice came through a translation device that converted his crystalline speech patterns into words that could understand. "You fought against the ships. You drove them away. Why would you risk your vessel and your crew for strangers?" Did not answer immediately. She was examining the damage to the ship's power systems, analyzing what would need to be done to restore functionality. After a moment, she responded while continuing her work. "Because you needed help," said simply. "Because doing the right thing is more important than being safe. Because we believe that all lives matter, even lives that are different from our own." Was silent for a long moment. His eyes, all of them, were focused on as she worked. Then he said something that would echo through the Confederation for years to come. "This is not how your species was described to us. We were told that humans were selfish, that humans would only help other species if there was profit or benefit to them. We were told that humans were primitive and weak. We were told that humans were not to be trusted, but everything I have seen today contradicts these words." Over the next 6 hours, the human engineers and the crew worked together, showed the how to reroute their power systems to restore functionality. One of her engineers, a woman named Lisa, worked to seal the hull breaches and reinforce them with patches made from materials that the Sentinel had in its storage. Another engineer, Thomas, worked on restoring the engines to operational status. The work was hard. The ship was damaged in ways that would normally take weeks to repair. But humans and together managed to accomplish in 6 hours what might have taken much longer if either species had worked alone. By the time was ready to return to the Sentinel, the vessel was functional enough to travel at lower speeds and maintain its life support systems. As was leaving the bridge, approached her. He extended one of his crystalline appendages toward her in a gesture of respect. "You have saved us," said. "Your captain has saved us. Your species has saved us. The Confederation will not forget this act of honor. We will remember that when we needed help, humanity answered that need. We will remember that humans are beings of character and courage." Took the extended appendage carefully. The crystal felt warm and smooth under her suited hand. "Tell your people that this is who we are," said. "Humans help each other. We help others who cannot help themselves. We will always answer a call for aid. That is our promise to you." When returned to the Sentinel and reported what had happened, Victoria made a command decision that would change the course of human history. She ordered to open a communications channel to the Confederation's central government. Victoria wanted to deliver a message herself. The communication took time to establish. The Confederation's seat of government was nearly 3 light-years away. The signal had to travel through space, carrying Victoria's words across an almost impossible distance. But finally, the connection was made. Victoria stood on the bridge of the Sentinel with her crew watching and listening. She spoke carefully and clearly, measuring each word. "This is Captain Victoria Lane of the human vessel HVAR Sentinel, representing the people of Earth and the human species. Today, we have encountered the Empire's aggression against a civilian vessel. Today, we have chosen to stand against that aggression. Today, we have learned that the people are beings of intelligence and honor, and that they deserve the same respect and protection that any species deserves. The human race wishes to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Confederation. We wish to trade with your people. We wish to share knowledge with your people. We wish to be friends." There was a delay in the response. The message had to travel, and then the government had to respond. But when the answer came back, it was positive and warm. "The Confederation accepts this offer of friendship and diplomatic relations." Your species has proven itself worthy of our respect and trust. We will send diplomatic representatives to meet with you and your government. We will begin trade. We will begin cultural exchanges. We will begin to build a relationship between our peoples that will last for generations. Word of the battle and the rescue began to spread through the galaxy. Other species learned what had happened. Other civilizations heard about how the human ship had fought against overwhelming odds to save The story was told and retold, growing larger with each telling. The Empire, meanwhile, was much quieter about what had occurred. They reported that they had been forced to retreat from a human vessel that had unexpectedly strong capabilities. But they did not report how the Sentinel had danced through their fleet like a creature of pure tactics and speed. They did not report how they had been outmaneuvered and outthought by a species that they had believed to be primitive and weak. 3 weeks after the battle with the Empire, Captain Victoria Lane stood in the main chamber of the United Earth Government Council. The room was large and impressive, with ceilings that stretched up at least 30 meters high. Every seat in the chamber was filled. World leaders, military officers, scientists, diplomats, and politicians from every major nation on Earth had come to hear her report about what had happened in that distant region of space. The Sentinel hung in space above Earth, damaged but still operational. Its repairs were progressing quickly. The human engineers had been working day and night to restore the ship to full functionality. The crews had been expanded. New equipment had been installed. The Sentinel would be more powerful when it sailed through space again than it had ever been before. Victoria had been given a list of things that she was supposed to talk about: military specifications, damage assessments, recommendations for future missions, but she ignored the list. Instead, she spoke from her heart about what she and her crew had experienced. She talked about the moment when the distress signal came through, and she had made the decision to help even though they were not human. She talked about the battle and the tactics and the incredible bravery of her crew. She talked about Fox and Lisa and Thomas, and all the other members of her crew who had done things that seemed impossible. "We learned something in that region of space," Victoria said, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. "We learned that humanity does not have to be the strongest species in the galaxy to make a difference. We do not have to have the most advanced technology to command respect. We do not have to be the most powerful to change the course of events. What we have is something different. We have character. We have the will to do what is right, even when it is hard. We have the courage to stand against overwhelming odds. And we have the intelligence and the adaptability to overcome any challenge that we face." As she spoke, images appeared on the large screens that covered the walls of the chamber. Images of the Sentinel fighting against the ships. Images of the merchant vessel being rescued. Images of Fox working side by side with the crew to repair the damaged ship. The pictures told the story in a way that words alone could not. "The Confederation has formally recognized humanity as a space-faring civilization worthy of respect," Victoria continued. "They have established diplomatic relations with us. They have agreed to trade with us. They have agreed to share knowledge and technology. But most importantly, they have agreed to tell other species in the galaxy what happened here. They will tell the story of how humanity answered a call for help. How humanity stood against the Empire and refused to back down. How humanity proved that strength of character can overcome superior firepower." The response from the chamber was immediate and overwhelming. Every person in the room stood up. The applause was loud and continued for several minutes. Victoria could see tears on many faces. Some people were cheering. Others were simply clapping, their expressions filled with pride and emotion. Over the next 3 months, the changes began. Messages came to Earth from species all across the galaxy. Though a race of beings made of pure energy sent a request for human diplomatic representatives to visit their territory. Though a species of creatures requested human military advisors to help them with their defense systems. The large, bear-like beings with incredible strength asked if they could establish trade relationships with humanity. New ships were authorized by the United Earth Government. Each one would be modeled on the Sentinel's design, incorporating the lessons learned from the battle with the new military personnel began intensive training programs. Scientists worked to understand how the Sentinel had accomplished what it did. Engineers studied the ship to see what modifications could be made to improve its capabilities. Victoria was promoted to admiral. She was given command of the entire human space fleet. It was a small fleet at first, consisting of the Sentinel and 4 newer ships that were being built to the same specifications. But it would grow. Victoria knew that within 5 years, humanity would have dozens of warships. Within 10 years, there would be hundreds. The Empire, meanwhile, was beginning to understand that they had made a mistake. They had assumed that humanity was weak because the humans did not have the same level of technology that they possessed. But they had been wrong. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was different. Humanity thought about problems in ways that they had never considered. Humanity fought using tactics that made no sense to the commanders. Humanity had something that no amount of advanced technology could provide, and that something was giving them an advantage that they did not know how to counter. The Empire began to build more ships. They began to prepare for a potential conflict with the human race, but they did so reluctantly and with a sense of confusion. They did not understand what had happened. They did not understand how a primitive human vessel had defeated their advanced warships. It made no sense to them, and because it made no sense, they were afraid. Victoria stood on the bridge of the Sentinel and looked out at the stars. She thought about the crew members who had died in the battle. She thought about Bradley, who would never fully recover from the radiation burns he had suffered. She thought about the 4 people who had given their lives so that the merchant vessel could be saved. Those deaths were not in vain. The sacrifice of those crew members had changed the course of history. Because of them, humanity was no longer a species that was ignored or dismissed. Because of them, humanity had taken its place among the great civilizations of the galaxy. Because of them, other species now understood that humans were worthy of respect and trust. "Captain, we have received new orders from Admiral Lane," Henry Cole said from his tactical station. "We are to return to Earth for further repairs and upgrades. After that, we are being assigned a new mission." "What mission?" Victoria asked. "Exploration of the Outer Rim territories," Henry said. "We are to survey new star systems and establish relations with any civilizations we encounter. We are to be ambassadors for the human race." Victoria smiled. This was exactly what she wanted, not just military conflict, not just fighting, but exploration, discovery, connection with other species, building relationships and understanding. "Set course for Earth," Victoria ordered. "Maximum sustainable speed." The Sentinel turned toward home. Behind it, the stars of the distant nebula shone brightly. Ahead of it, Earth waited. The human race had entered the galactic stage. And now everyone in the galaxy would learn what humans were truly capable of. They would learn about human courage, human honor, human determination, and human hope. What the Empire did understand was that humanity was not what they had thought. Humanity was something different, something unpredictable, something that could not be easily categorized or dismissed. And that realization changed everything about how the galaxy would view the human race from that moment forward. Would carry with her for the rest of her life. But the merchant vessel was safe, the crew was alive, and humanity had just sent a message to the entire galaxy. We do not abandon our friends, we do not run from danger, we do not accept that anything is impossible. When we decide to do something, we do it, and we do it well. The 4 new ships came into range. The battle was about to become much more difficult, but Victoria and her crew were ready. They had trained for this. They had believed in this moment, and they would not fail. Victoria placed her hand on the arm of her command chair and waited for what would come next. The stars continued their ancient journey through the darkness. The universe did not care about the ships moving through it, but the people on those ships cared very much. They cared about honor. They cared about doing what was right. And they cared about standing against the darkness, no matter what the cost might be.